Yeah.
If news or social media or anything like that is getting me upset every single day, then turn it off. Like don't jump into all this negative stuff that is happening in the world, and just pay attention. Oh, this is causing me anxiety. Oh, this is causing me depression. These things are directly related to how I feel on a day-to-day basis. Maybe I need to change what I'm viewing, change what I'm hearing, change the people I'm around who may be influencing my mental health and taking my mental health in a wrong direction.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Journey Coaching Podcast. I'm Abigail.
I'm Dillon.
And today we have a very special guest, Diana Jackson. She is a licensed mental health counselor and she is incredibly wise.
Your life, your journey starts now.
So would you like to introduce yourself and tell us more about you?
That's the best intro ever, Abigail.
Oh, thank you.
So, thank you. Like Abigail said, my name is Diana Jackson. I'm a mental health counselor, and I currently work at House of Hope. I was also a substance abuse counselor at ASAC for 8 years. And I just have a really strong passion to help people process through especially trauma or emotional pain or just some hiccups that they've experienced along their journey that they just haven't been able to break off for whatever reason. I guess the main reason is they haven't had a tool. They just don't know how to do it. And so I love coming alongside of people and saying, hey, let me give you a couple tools to help you break through some of the things that you've been carrying around with you for probably most of your life. So.
Yeah. Well, I think firstly, I just want to thank you for all your hard work that you've done for the past many years. And it's very much needed. Yeah, so today's topic is mental health preventative care. And I understand you guys both have very wise information on this because you guys are counselors. So tell me all about this.
I hope I have some ideas.
Yeah.
Because then I might be out of a job, but I'll try.
Don't want to share too much.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess my first question would be, how do we deal with our emotions and everything going on internally so we can, have the best system so we don't have to go to therapy?
Well, there's definitely some skill sets that people can learn, but with me, they probably learn them in therapy. But there's also, like House of Hope offers a lot of tools too. Like it's in place of therapy, there's some very in-deep personal journeys that people can go through. One of them called Ultimate Journey. That is, you systematically go through every stage of your life with a fine-tooth comb. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. But its premise is that we go through life and things happen to us and we end up viewing ourselves negatively oftentimes by what happened to us. So something bad happened to us or somebody treated us poorly or wrong, and then we tend to duplicate that against ourselves, and we end up having this shame-based identity where these events and these people that have harmed us get wrapped up in who we view ourselves to be. And so that class in particular is a wonderful one to try and process through your emotional pain and equip you to learn how to ally yourself in places of your life where you ended up downgrading yourself or putting yourself down.
That's a really great point. And a question that I would have is for the people who are unable to go through this, journey essentially, because it's set up in an organization. What are the skill sets that you learn in there that you could process through on your own time with the relationships that you have around you?
Some of those are some like DBT. You had talked about dialectical behavior therapy and what am I setting my mind on? Because I think oftentimes we get fixated on the negative. We're surrounded by negative. I mean, if we watch the news, we've got, out of an hour segment, there's 55 minutes of like really bad news and then 5 minutes of person of the week. I mean, we just are inundated with so much negative, and it's really hard to keep yourself positive in kind of a negative worldview oftentimes. And so just concentrating on what you're paying attention to. So dialectical behavioral therapy that Dylan and I were talking about before the show started, is really about what are you putting your attention on? Are you fixating on the negative, or are you paying attention and grabbing hold of? Are you being intentional about what you think about? Because if we're just leaving our minds to wander, the world will pull our mind in a negative direction. And so it's like we really have to be aware of what we're feeling, aware of what we're thinking, and then have the sense to interrupt our thoughts and say, gosh, is it really beneficial for me to be thinking along these lines? Or is it really beneficial for me to hang on to this emotion?
Yeah.
And where's it taking my heart? Where's it taking my mind? Where's it taking my worldview? Where are all these things taking? And it's really advantageous to take the steering wheel and say, I'm going to control my thoughts, not the news, not my neighbor, not my upset coworker. I'm going to take the wheel of my heart, my mind, my soul, and I'm going to start steering it.
Yeah.
If news or social media or anything like that is getting me upset every single day, then turn it off. Like don't jump into all this negative stuff that is happening in the world, and just pay attention. Oh, this is causing me anxiety. Oh, this is causing me depression. These things are directly related to how I feel on a day-to-day basis. Maybe I need to change what I'm viewing, change what I'm hearing, change the people I'm around who may be influencing my mental health and taking my mental health in a wrong direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's really true. Perspective is so important, and our perspective is shaped by like the message we receive from our parents, our friends, like you said, the news, or I guess for a younger audience, social media. Sometimes it literally means unfollowing an account or taking the app off your phone. I know there's been times in my life where I've had to completely take off like Instagram or TikTok from my phone because it's just sucking me into a hole of comparing myself to others, negativity, and seeing all the negative things in the world. And I think like you're absolutely right. Being intentional about what is impacting me emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it's really important to pay attention to how things impact us.
Yes.
And when we're not intentional, it can get out of control pretty quickly. So I think there's a lot of power in, like you said, take control of what messages I'm listening to, what messages I'm deciding I'm not going to listen to that anymore because it's not helpful to me.
Yeah.
There was a word that you both said that I just want to point on, and that's intention. And I think that there are so many times where we think that passivity is controlling our life, but you can actually take control of certain things. You might not be able to take control of everything, but there are things that you can control. You just need to have the intention to do that.
Yes.
So I want to add a little bit to like the first question you asked. How do we, I guess, proactively prevent like mental health issues from becoming a big thing? For me, I look at like 3 different areas of like human health, and one of those is mental health, but the other 2 are physical health and spiritual health. And if one of those is lacking, then you're going to lack in other areas. I think an example of this would be like if I'm physically like not getting any exercise or eating very badly, I'm going to see effects on my emotions. And there's a lot of science that proves that. But I think I've seen it true in my own life. Like when I'm not exercising as much or eating poorly, I just feel more crummy.
Yeah, there's definitely a ton of physical conditions that are directly correlated with emotional health.
Yeah.
And so there's a book, The Body Keeps Score is a book that is very intricate and detailed about how holding on to emotional pain for sure can impact our mental health, physical, they're all related. Yeah. And so if one is suffering, then the other parts of the body or our being tend to feel that as well, feel the weight of it as well.
For me, I just look at the deep connection between spiritual health and mental, physical health. It's you can't have full mental health if you have lack in spiritual health. That's my opinion, and I think there's stuff that backs it up. Because not everybody's gonna agree with that, but I think it's important to look at all 3 of these areas. If you really want to consider all of health or all of mental health, you have to consider. What am I trying to say?
Holistically.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't separate them. It's
exactly.
holistic. Yeah.
Well, even within my own life, I can say from personal example, or personal experience that when I get enough sleep, when I take my vitamins, when I read my Bible, when I eat clean, when I exercise, like I feel 10 times better.
Yeah.
And it makes me handle things where otherwise I wouldn't be able to handle those situations. And I think God made us, you know, with all these different parts and for them to function in a certain way. And so when one of them is off, our body's like, whoa, something needs to change, something's wrong. And I think that's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Like we were made to be like a whole.
Just talking about the preventative part, if you look at, like you Abigail, you mentioned all different aspects of our beings, and there's I don't know if you've ever used, Dillon, every once in a while I use like this wellness wheel. It's just like a pie chart basically, and each section has different components of our humanity. So one would be our spirituality, our relationship, our finances, our just different segments. And then you notice which of those pies has, like, is there more input or output coming from that? So spiritually, some people I know who actually work in ministry, sometimes they feel like there's more output than input because they're working. Like that's, if you look at your pie chart and you're looking at relationally, do a lot of my relationships pull from me? Am I giving too much and feeling like there's not really a return on that investment very much? And so we end up looking at our wheel, and it looks like a lopsided wheel, and how's it going to function very well because there's so much out of balance sometimes in our lives. So another preventative way to look at it is, where's your export and import, and what are the levels?
Yeah.
Are you receiving, and where are you receiving from? What are you exporting, and how? Sometimes we can be filled by exporting too, because we're coming alongside of somebody and mentoring or befriending somebody, and that's a feel good. But if it's out of balance, then I'm always doing this, and I feel like people are walking on me, and then it's not done with a joyful heart. Now I'm resentful because I just feel like everybody knows I'm a giver, and so they're like, "Hey, Diana, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this?" And I'm like,
and they just
"Hey,"
keep taking.
and so
and
boundaries.
That's a whole thing to unpack.
Yeah, that's a whole nother that's a whole nother topic for sure. So
I guess I wanted to bring attention to like all the different areas, because you brought up some really great areas, and you brought up really great areas and what you need to focus on. And it seems like there's a lot of stuff that we need to pay attention to. So I kind of wanted to like zero in on like, okay, what are the areas that we should really focus on? So just to make like a bullet list, social support, that's important. And that's a really deep topic. And that's actually something we talk about a lot on the Journey podcast, so that we don't have a shortage of information on like, social support. Sometimes that looks like just having good friendships, speaking to a mentor or a pastor, a trusted adult. Sometimes that means going to see a counselor. And I think later on in this conversation, we're going to talk more about when we need to go see a therapist as opposed to just relying on our other social supports. What are other social supports you can think of that I missed?
you have to figure out who your posse is.
Yeah.
And the people that I want around me in my inner circle, those people are people that make me the best version of myself.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Great point.
that excludes some people. And sometimes I think you have to look at the people that have the biggest influence on your life. And are they contributing to me being the best version of myself or not? I almost call myself a personality thief, because when I was trying to figure out who I wanted to be, I would just watch people. I'm like, if I saw something that really impressed me, I thought, wow, that's of high moral value, and I like that. I would kind of just take that and say, I want to emulate that. I want to be that. I want to practice doing that, because I want to use that as one of my building blocks of who I am, because I respected it or really liked how they did it. Yeah.
I've heard it said that we are the average of the 5 or 6 people we spend the most of the time with.
Yeah, I think you made up a really great point. And like, I almost think of it as like you're on a team with people. Maybe like I played soccer for a little bit, and you don't want someone who's like hogging the ball and always like doing everything for themselves. And, you know, it's good to have, you know, people who play well together. And what's beautiful about that is now, because your energy is filled up, you're able to even, you know, go outside and, you know, communicate with other people even better. Like, if I know that my closest, like, 5 friends we're strong, like, spiritually, mentally, and physically, and we build each other up, then around people who don't necessarily have that, I'm able to, you know, they're able to take a little bit more from me, and I'm okay with that because I have my group. And so I think that's a really, really great, like, point to keep in mind, is like, we're able to be influential even outside of our group if we have that stability.
Okay, so back to my list. Couple other things I think are really important to look to is kind of what Diana was saying earlier about learning how to deal with our emotions well. Learning coping skills that are beneficial to us and healthy to us, because there are certainly many coping skills that are unhealthy. Couple examples of that might be going to drugs or alcohol, or going to relationships in an unhealthy way, and that's a whole nother conversation as well. But finding good coping skills could be talking to a friend about what's going on in your life, praying, journaling. What other things would you add to that list?
I love the journaling. I think journaling gives us an outlet that, you know, maybe there's not people around that are there to hear us in that moment. I think it's always good to have a spillway to just to dump your emotions on something. You can read through it. And the interesting thing about when you're emotionally full, when your emotional canister is full, I talk about intellectual part of us, the emotional part of us, and the spiritual part of us. IQ, intellectual quotient, emotional quotient, and spiritual quotient. When your emotional quotient is full, it knocks the lid off of it, and it knocks out both other canisters. And so I can't think very well, and if you've got a spiritual life, you can't pray very well. And so all you're doing is feeling. And so in order to get that level of emotion down, you just spill it out on paper. Just write it down. And I don't know if anyone in the audience has ever done this, but let's say you're writing a letter to somebody and you're really upset with that person. You start out writing, and you'll notice that everything you're writing is emotional. I'm mad at this, and when we get upset, when we're in our emotional canister too much, what we tend to do is start talking in absolutes, like you never, you always, like our language changes, and it's not true, but we feel that way. What we feel and what we think are vastly different. So we feel that this is true, which is not true, but it feels that way. And so we start talking in these absolute terms. And so when you start writing this letter of how mad you are at this person, you can tell when it goes from your emotional canister to your intellectual canister. Like when you start going, well, I guess I can understand your point. And all of a sudden you can actually jump out of your cesspool into understanding what they may have been thinking or comprehending at that time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so I really am a big proponent of emotional journaling, just kind of giving yourself a spillway when you need it, and just downloading it so that you don't talk to a person when you're still in your emotional canister and all it is emotion, and there's no logic base in it. It's your feelings, but it's not necessarily a great time to communicate when all you're doing is feeling and you're upset. And all it is I'm going to see who's got more of a right to be upset right now. It becomes this match of who is more justified in being angry. Whose arsenal is bigger? That's what we're doing now. And it's just this war of words, and both sides have a right to be upset probably, but nothing really gets resolved very well that way. So
I think what you're talking about is, I mean, at its simplest level, is balancing what I feel and what I know, and being able to process that even sometimes by myself before I bring that to somebody else.
Yes.
Because we might be more reactionary as rather than responding
Exactly.
more appropriately
Exactly.
when we're just in our emotions. Because it's important to look at our emotions while you're having those conversations.
Yes.
But if you're just being led by emotions, you can get into some hot water pretty
Yes.
quickly. I know that from experience.
Inside Out movie, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, so
Inside
good.
Out.
I love Inside Out. That's a great.
You don't
great
want
movie.
whatever that red dude is called.
Anger.
You don't want him like driving too far.
Yes. So to conclude all of what we talked about in this episode, we want to point you back towards the Journey coaching materials. In this, we touch on how to build strong social connection with somebody else. An example of that would be sitting down with somebody and reading through this material with a coach, mentor, friend, whoever you feel comfortable with doing that with. And our materials cover how to build a stronger worldview, looking inward towards yourself and seeing, how do I look at the world? How do I handle my emotions? How I've been taught to handle my emotions? How to build deeper relationships with people? How to pay attention to the different areas of my life that are important to look at, to not put them to the wayside. So if you are wanting to look more into these areas and look at our materials, you can go find them at journeycoaching.org.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next time and make sure you like and subscribe. Visit us at journeycoaching.org and check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Start your own journey at journeycoaching.org.
Your life, your journey starts now. Ba-da-ba-da-ba.